Some music is beautiful, but this feels almost impossible. What if the greatest composer of all time wasn't the most famous one? Why do modern composers still study his music obsessively? And why does his music feel so different from everyone else? His father was the town organist, his uncles and brothers all musicians, their names filling out church payrolls and city ledgers across central Germany. By the time Bach was a teenager, both parents were gone. He moved in with his older brother, Johann Christoph, who drilled him in the strict arts of organ playing and the secret codes of counterpoint, how to weave one melody against another, how to make a single idea multiply and transform. In his own lifetime, Bach was not crowned with the title greatest. He was respected, yes, but as a craftsman, admired for his skill at the organ, for his ability to improvise, for fulfilling the endless demands of church and court. Telemann and Handel drew the crowds and the commissions. Bach's own music, dense with technical puzzles, was often left to gather dust in manuscript form, copied by students and family, rarely published, rarely performed outside his own circle. Then, nearly 80 years after his death, something strange happened. In 1829, a young composer named Felix Mendelssohn, then just 20 years old, stood before the Singakademie in Berlin and conducted Bach's St. Matthew Passion. The concert was a sensation. The newspapers called it a revelation. Suddenly Bach was not just a name in church records, he was a rediscovered genius. By the end of the century, scholars called him the father of modern music. His works flooded concert halls and classrooms. He became the composer every composer had to reckon with. But what made Bach different? Why does his music sound engineered, almost impossible, even today? The answer starts with counterpoint, the science of independent voices moving together. In a Bach fugue, everything begins with a subject, a short, memorable melody. Then comes the answer, echoing the subject but shifted higher or lower, like a mirror held up to the original line. Sometimes, before one voice even finishes, another jumps in, overlapping in a technique called stretto. It is like hearing a single idea chase itself in circles, building tension with every entry. Listen to the opening of the Art of Fugue. The subject enters, simple and clear. Then another voice picks it up, transformed, and another, until the music becomes a living engine, each part moving on its own, yet locked together in perfect logic. This is where the argument begins. He didn't just write music, he engineered it. So, is he really the greatest, or just the most technical? Maybe greatness isn't about emotion, maybe it is about something deeper. The answer lies in how these structures work, and in why every music student from Berlin to New York still has to master the code Bach invented. Every conservatory from Juilliard to the Royal Academy has a ritual that never changes. The new student sits at the keyboard, opens a slim volume, and faces a test that has defeated generations before them, Bach's two-part inventions. These pieces look simple on the page, just 2 lines, one for each hand, no flashy chords or thundering octaves. But the moment the student begins, the illusion falls away. Each hand must carry its own melody, sometimes in conversation, sometimes in argument, never allowed to lean on the other for support. The right hand sings a phrase, the left answers, and then, without warning, both hands are tangled in a chase, crossing over, echoing, splitting apart. If you lose focus for a second, the whole structure collapses. This is where the real work begins. Conservatory statistics tell the story. In the core piano curriculum at Juilliard, the 2-part inventions and their 3-part cousins are non-negotiable. Nearly a quarter of all required solo repertoire at top schools is Bach. In Moscow, students cannot even think about graduation until they have played every invention and sinfonia, start to finish. In Paris and London, the exam boards list Bach's keyboard works as compulsory, no exceptions, no shortcuts. But the real trial comes for organists. Klavierübung. 3 is infamous. It is not just the hands, but the feet, pedal lines that snake beneath the music, demanding as much dexterity from your toes as from your fingers. Some passages stretch across the entire pedal board, requiring leaps and double stops that even seasoned players dread. Conservatory records show error rates spike whenever a Bach pedal fugue appears on the program. Pedal technique, registration choices, and the ability to keep 3 or 4 voices in motion at once are the hurdles that separate the apprentice from the master. In a practice room, a student stares at the score, pencil tapping against the wood. They play a phrase, fumble, play it again. The left hand rebels, the right hand rushes ahead, the feet lag behind. Hours pass, and the room fills with the sound of trial and error, fragments, corrections, the slow assembly of something that might eventually become music. This is not just about learning notes. It is about learning how music is built. Every mistake exposes the architecture. Every breakthrough reveals a hidden logic. For centuries, teachers have insisted, if you can play Bach, you can play anything. The reason is not tradition or nostalgia, it is necessity. Bach's music is the crucible. It forces discipline, independence, and the kind of listening that turns a student into a musician. The code he invented is still the code every musician must crack. The difficulty is not a barrier, it is the point. And that is why, even now, the journey to mastering music almost always begins with Bach. Authority is a powerful argument. Start with a manuscript dated 1784. Mozart, at the height of his fame in Vienna, sits at a desk and copies out a fugue from Bach's Well-Tempered Clavier, catalogued as K404A. The shelf mark, Mus. 1575, still sits in the Berlin State Library. This wasn't a school assignment. Mozart was already dazzling Europe with his own operas. Yet he spent hours transcribing Bach's fugues, line by line, searching for the code inside the music. He didn't hide it. In letters, he called Bach's counterpoint the true art. Beethoven took this even further. In his sketchbooks Artaria 195 and in the Beethoven House Bonn, sketchbook 6, pages 23 to 25 are filled with Bach's themes, rewritten, twisted, and pulled apart. He scrawled Bach Thema, weiter entwickeln, which means Bach theme, develop further, beside a reworking of the C major prelude. These aren't just homages. Beethoven's late quartets, the Grosse Fuge, even Für Elise, all carry the fingerprints of Bach's architecture. For these giants, Bach wasn't just a distant ancestor, he was the source code. But the counter-argument is just as sharp. Listen to a Chopin nocturne, a single melody unspooling in the dark. No fugue, no puzzle, just pure feeling. Surveys show that when listeners rate emotional impact, Chopin and Beethoven outscore Bach by a wide margin. A 2019 global study found Bach's Goldberg variations scored an 8.6 for structural clarity, but only a 6.1 for emotional intensity. Chopin's Nocturne Opus 9, number 2, soared past 8 for emotional response. Functional MRI scans reveal a split. Bach lights up the prefrontal cortex, the brain's analytical engine. Beethoven and Chopin fire the limbic system, the seat of emotion, the heartbeat, the gut punch. So which is greater? The music that rewires the mind, or the music that seizes the heart? Is influence enough, or does greatness demand something more immediate, something that can't be measured in notes or footnotes? The debate is not settled. What's at stake is nothing less than how we define greatness itself. In 1722, Bach released the first volume of the Well-Tempered Clavier, a set of preludes and fugues that methodically covers every major and minor key, 24 in total. No one had mapped out the musical landscape so completely before. It was not just a collection, it was proof that equal-tempered tuning could unlock music's full range, letting composers move from one key to another without limits. The Well-Tempered Clavier became a kind of musical grammar, so precise that its logic still anchors theory classes from Tokyo to Toronto. The design Bach laid out did not fade with time. In 1950 and 1951, Dmitri Shostakovich, working under Soviet scrutiny, composed his own cycle of 24 preludes and fugues, Opus 87. The structure is deliberate, each piece follows Bach's key order and architectural clarity. Shostakovich called it a tribute, but it reads like a coded message, a continuation of Bach's unfinished conversation. Even the opening bars echo Bach's themes, linking 2 centuries in a single gesture. The influence stretches beyond the concert hall. Jazz pianist Jacques Lussier starting in 1959, reimagined Bach's fugues with improvisation and swing, showing that these lines could thrive in a smoky club as easily as a cathedral. The code holds, whatever the style. Open any modern harmony textbook, tonal harmony, pistons harmony, the ABRSM syllabus, and Bach's chorales are the model. Over 70% of college-level theory texts use his work as their foundation. The rules of voice leading, chord progressions, and harmonic motion all trace back to him. Bach is not just studied, he is the grammar of Western music. Centuries later, every conservatory still starts with Bach, not because he was the loudest, but because music itself bends around his blueprint. In a world shaped by his logic and invention, the question stands, is greatness measured by influence or by feeling? The verdict now is yours.